Welcome to another edition of Flawedcast, episode 41. Remember the Alamo.
Flawedcast. Flawedcast. Get in the arena.
Woo! America.
So listen, folks, seriously though, welcome to Flawedcast. I'm here with my boy Will.
What's good?
And to my right is here's Johnny.
All right. Want to welcome everyone. And if you have found us, you are either already subscribed or you are a true believer because since we have last had the opportunity to speak, we have been suspended off of Twitter, Apple, and other platforms that we have been on until I pestered them enough to release our last episode entitled How the Democrats Plan to Steal the 2020 Election. You know, I think we're over the target.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, what are you thinking?
Well, when you asked them about it, did the sound that came out of their voice, did it sound a little bit like the tape said that?
Yes.
You know,
That's it.
that's
Yes.
what you heard. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I heard. We do appreciate the love if you have found us. It is more important than ever that if you enjoy what we're doing, that you support us by subscribing. Please leave in some positive comments on our platforms that are still up. Oddly enough, the only two that didn't initially block us were Spotify and YouTube. Now, Yes, YouTube is still shadow batting us, but at least they put it out there. So want to thank you for that. And listen, please help us. Please subscribe. Please share because the stuff that we are starting to share, I guess, is ruffling feathers.
We're doing our job.
We're getting in the arena, so we just need your help by making sure that people are hearing what we're saying so we continue to aggravate the powers that be. You know, it's not always easy to speak truth to power, but that's what we're doing. So
I just want to know.
Yes.
How can all these things still be considered coinkydinks? I mean, are people that blind? Every time something major comes out, we have some crisis blocking the spotlight. I mean, this is quite unbelievable, man. Why is all of this pedophilia craziness not front, center, left, right, up, down, every which way, and the only thing that we're all triggered by right now? How can this possibly, with showing how far it spreads, it is disgusting. We don't even know how far it spreads.
Well,
we don't even know how far it spreads. This is like
Tom Hanks just became an official citizen of Greece, which they have no extradition treaty with America.
Yeah. But this thing is so crazy. It's not even just America. No. This is worldwide pandemic, folks. You want to talk about a pandemic?
Well,
this is absolutely horrifying.
If you are hearing this, you definitely are a diehard supporter because I'm sure that comment just got us removed everywhere else. But that's
the truth. I mean,
I don't disagree with you.
Remove the truth. That's what we do. We censor the truth. We're Nazi Germany.
Listen,
that's what we do.
I don't disagree with you.
We're a socialist country now. We censor the truth. We censor my freedom of speech. That's what we do.
Well,
because it's what is Facebook? It's what kind of platform?
Well, it's a social media platform.
Oh, it's a social media platform. It's not.
Well, right now they're not publishers.
They're not publishers?
No.
So how come they edit me?
Well, us. Twitter. We are suspended. And they send us a litany of BS. We were misappropriately using hashtags. We were misappropriately using hashtags.
Yep. That's obviously an issue.
They were misappropriately using minors, but that's, you know,
whatever we can do to protect. How much are they paying you, Twitter?
Yeah, because
how much are they paying you, Facebook?
We can't match it or beat it, but you know, we're going to persevere.
We don't have that kind of flow. We don't have that kind of
right. Well, you know, like Christopher Reeves and Superman. We are fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. And the way you can help us, subscribe while we are still there on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hopefully this will be there anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Get in the arena, man. Get in the arena.
Yes.
Speak the truth. Get the word out.
And listen, if you are not able to, hopefully we can be your voice. Hopefully we can represent your feelings and what your thoughts are. info@flawedinc.com. Hit us up on any of our social media platforms that are still up. We are thriving on Parler and Gab. We are still on Instagram. We are still on Facebook as of now. Now, Flaweding CLE, Flawedcast CLE, please share, please help. You know, it's interesting because as game planning and talking beforehand, we're at this point where everybody I know is just at this point of anticipation. What we are anticipating, we don't really know. As I did some research and studying this week, and there was a tale from sort of American history that stuck out. And I want to kind of talk about it. This particular tale, I think, is something that should start to resonate and reverberate in the hearts of all. And what I'm talking about is the Alamo. We're not going to get too deep into this because if you're a Texarkanan,
you can.
That's right. If you're a Texarkanan, which I know we got some listeners down there, thank you for the love. But, you know, I love Texas. I've been there a number of times. I know Jason has been there a number of times.
Would move in a heartbeat.
I would have up until it started turning deep purple. But nonetheless, Governor Abbott's just a shade better than Grand Chancellor Palpatine DeWine. We are going to talk about this because there's a certain angstiness and there's a certain spirit that the men of the Alamo possessed in the sight, in the utter defiance of death. And I have been to the Alamo.
Certain doom on the way, and they basically stuck their middle finger at it and said, bring it.
Right. Or
remember the Alamo.
Or as the famous Texarkanan saying is, come and take it.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into some articles. We also got some scriptures. But listen, I think I'm not calling for violence. And I think what we stated earlier, now we have to use our voices. That we are now experiencing in real time censorship because we're trying to do that. If you're hearing this, we need your help to get this out there. And we need to say in a defiant way, because I've learned in bullying, if you stand up to a bully, they're very easily going to back down. That's just been my history. You know, and one of the bullies was Jason when we were younger. He would bully me all the time. And I said, you're a jerk. And he stopped. So we've been like best friends ever since. But
hey, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Anyway, so I don't know who Jason, Johnny, who wants to get into it. Briefly read that, one of you guys. And this is
hey, John, you read it, but just remember.
I was going to do paper, rock, scissors for the win.
No, you can read it, but just remember.
Locked in. All right, folks, remember the Alamo. In December of 1835, in the early stages of the Texas War for Independence from Mexico, a group of Texan or Texian volunteers led by George Collinsworth and Benjamin Millam overwhelmed the Mexican garrison of the Alamo and captured the fort, seizing control of San Antonio. By mid-February 1836, Colonel James Bowie and Lieutenant Colonel William B. Travis had taken command of Texan forces in San Antonio. Though Sam Houston, the newly appointed commander-in-chief of the Texan forces, argued that San Antonio should be abandoned due to insufficient troop numbers, which coincidentally was accurate. Nevertheless, we'll move on. The Alamo's defenders, led by Bowie and Travis, dug in nonetheless, prepared to defend the fort to the very last. These defenders, who despite later reinforcements never numbered more than 200 men, including the very famous Davy Crockett, who's a famous frontiersman and former congressman from Tennessee, who had arrived in early February on the 23rd. A Mexican force comprised somewhere between 1,800 and 6,000 men, according to various estimates, and commanded by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, began a siege at the fort through a breach in the outer wall of the courtyard and overpowered them. Santa Anna ordered his men to take no prisoners, and only a small handful of the Texans were spared. One of these, Susanna Dickinson, the wife of Captain Almaron Dickinson, who was killed, and her infant daughter Angelina. Santa Anna sent them to Houston's camp in Gonzales with a warning that a similar fate awaited the rest of the Texans if they continued this revolt. The Mexican forces also suffered heavy casualties in the Battle of the Alamo, losing between 600 and 1,600 men. The battle cry of "Remember the Alamo" later became popular during the Mexican-American War of 1846 through 1848.
One of the things I love about this story, there were 200 men squaring off against 6,000 allegedly, and they took out almost a third of the you know, and the whole idea, and I've been to the Alamo, and it's really interesting because it was a mission. It's very tiny.
I was blown away by how small.
And you know what else? There is a very sobering spirit. It's hallowed ground in many regards because it was a church, you know, it was a mission. And I remember going there and I had to take your hat off to walk around. But just knowing what I know about that experience and, you know, what would become American history, it kind of hit me this week as I was watching a couple documentaries about that. And I realized that in spite of the numbers, in spite of what would seem like an impossible task, what these men banded together were able to do is effectively say no.
Well, personally, I think that it should be torn down.
Well,
with the rest of the statues and other historic landmarks.
But I have a friend who lives in Austin, Texas, which is about an hour or so outside of San Antonio. And he told me when all that craziness was going on that there were armed Texan civilian citizens
Come touch my church.
around the Alamo to defend it. There's a spirit. There's a reckoning I think most people understand is on the way. You know, we've talked before that there's a couple ways that you can handle conflict. You can acquiesce, you can put your head in the sand, or you can say no. And I think some of the things we're going to get into, I just think it's time to start saying no.
Not today, Satan.
Which segues nicely to our scripture. Jason, it is your turn.
Ephesians 6:10-18, Amplified. In conclusion, be strong in the Lord. Draw your strength from him and be empowered through your union with him. And in the power of his boundless might, put on the full armor of God, for his precepts are like the splendid armor of a heavily armed soldier, so that you may be able to successfully stand up against all the schemes and the strategies and the deceits of the devil. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, contending only with physical opponents, but against the rulers, against powers, against world forces of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly supernatural places. Therefore, put on complete armor of God, so that you will be able to successfully resist and stand your ground in the evil day of danger, having done everything that the crisis demands, to stand firm in your place, fully prepared, immovable, victorious. So stand firm and hold your ground, having tightened the wide band of truth, personal integrity, moral courage around your waist, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, an upright heart, and having strapped on your feet the gospel of peace in preparation to face the enemy with firm-footed stability and the readiness produced by the good news. Above all, lift up the protective shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. With all prayer and petition pray, with specific requests at all times on every occasion and every season in the Spirit. And with this in view, stay alert with all perseverance and petition, interceding in prayer for all God's people.
And I love how it says in verse 13, to stand firm in your place, fully prepared, immovable, victorious.
Right.
I mean, there's so much there. I mean, we could probably spend the whole episode there, but I think it's important that go back, read that, and just take that to heart. Jason and John are two of my best friends. I trust them with my life. I have conversations with them all the time. I've had conversations this last week with men who I respect that are in positions of leadership in our community, spiritual leadership, and other realms of leadership in our community. We've all had similar conversations like I've had with Jason and John, that it isn't our physical body. Physically, I feel great, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I feel like I've come to that point, you know, and I've said in other episodes that you can stare into the abyss, but if you aren't careful, you become the abyss. And I think right now what we need to start realizing is that the abyss is ever encroaching upon us. And let's take the idea, you know, where it says here to stand firm. We have a lot of articles as we do, and we're just going to kind of gloss over these because I want you guys to get the point that, you know, sometimes you can go looking for trouble. And in my experience, when you do that, that's when you have your ass handed to you. But then sometimes you're walking down the street minding your own business and you get smacked upside the head with a 2x4. We're at this point right now where most people I know are trying to just keep their head down, take care of their family, do the right thing. And we are at this point where that seems to be an impossibility. So the idea of standing firm, what does that mean? What does that look like? And I think an open and honest discussion needs to be had. Now, I know a lot of people who have especially been trolling us lately, they're probably not going to like this episode, but that's okay. Apologize to the gentleman. I call it a lip-tard. Sorry. But I hope you're able to learn and take something with this. But this episode, we want to begin to talk to people that understand and they're fully aware of the shitstorm that we are in, or that is encroaching on us. And what do we do when these situations happen?
Looking for love in all the wrong places. Looking for love.
I think this is a perfect place to start with this first article, oddly enough, in Texas. It says here, Austin Police Union head blames deadly shooting on Black Lives Matter protesters. The head of the Austin, Texas Police Union blamed Black Lives Matter protester for the confrontation in which a man was shot dead, saying the demonstrator was looking for a confrontation and found it in quotes. Kenneth Cassidy, the president of the Austin Police Association, tweeted about this Saturday night, including and during which Garrett Foster was fatally shot by a driver who plowed through a cloud of protesters. Some of you may know this. There was a kid who was interviewed earlier in the night. He was all geared up. He was walking around with an AK. He was like, we can't shoot the cops, but, we're having our rights taken away. Unfortunately, this guy lost his life. And I'm sure he died of COVID, which is sad. Although, I guess one can make an argument he died of lead poisoning. But nonetheless, I'm going to go with COVID. And the thing that's sad about this is the guy was basically in his car. He was trying to get out. He had BLM protesters surround his car. And this guy came up with his AK. And what I found later is that the guy in the car for a military thought he was being threatened. And quite frankly, someone's walking up to you in a car with an AK-47 in the aim position, in the ready position.
It looks like intent at that point.
Well, yeah, and I can't necessarily blame the guy. It's tragic it's got to this level. And we need to start thinking, what do I do in this situation? If and when trouble knocks on my door, what do I do? How do I stand firm? How do I be righteous? How do I love? Like we talked about this all the time. How do we move in that level of respect, moving in within the structure of the laws and the systems that we have, but also realize that we need to start to stand firm and say no.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Warning! Warning!
Going down for the city. Sound off. Yeah.
Whoa. Rewind. Stay within the structures of our laws. What laws? When I say what laws, I'm just saying it's like they're made up as we go now. All this shit's made up as we go now. What you can do, what you can't do. Just know who the politicians are, where you're at, because based on how they feel and what they believe is how you're going to be prosecuted or not prosecuted. If you're in a demo rat place and you do something, you're fucked. That's all it's to it. Even if it's something legal. That's what I'm saying. I don't trust anything right now. It's unbelievable. We see judges pulling horrific things. I don't understand what precedent that they do some of the things they're doing. It's just, I can't believe all this is happening. So when I hear you say that, if this comes to your doorstep, how do you stay inside the law and handle it? I'm going to handle it the way that I have to handle it. Whatever has to happen, has to happen. All I know is I got a family and I'm protecting myself and my family. That's all that's to it. People are out of freaking control.
I don't disagree with you, but for the context of this show, we just need to put that out there because don't subpoena none of us for nothing. You're accountable.
Everyone's accountable for themselves.
Right.
Don't be pushing your responsibilities and accountabilities off on other people.
There'll be some e-warrants being issued pretty soon now.
E-warrant this. Bring it.
Here's where I even go further with that, because you kind of touched on this. We were talking about what's going on. Our commandment, we're commanded to love everybody and to love even the ones who are persecuting us. There's where I have to fight myself every day and talk myself, because I know the truth and I know what I'm commanded to do. Love your enemy,
as yourself.
Who persecute you. So that's my challenge every stinking time I open social media. That's my time every time I watch the news. I constantly have to keep correcting myself because my natural reaction, and I'm going to talk about this real quick. There's two words. There's reaction and there's response. A reaction is an emotional discharge. Something happens, you react to it. A response is a measured and calculated thing where you've taken some information in, you've processed it, you've come up with an educated thought response back, and then you're responding to that. I'm trying my darndest to respond and not react.
We've talked about this before. When you go to the range, you practice proper holding, how to shoot, how to load, clean. You go through these things in the hopes that you don't have to use them in a offensive way. But the reality of it is like you're saying, John, that's why we need to have these conversations now. Like-minded people who see the storm on the horizon, we need to start having these conversations now because we can't think that this is some far-off thing.
No.
If you think about the flood, people have never in the earth never seen rain before, and Noah's sitting there building. It took him 150 years to build the ark, right? And they're like, "What the heck's this guy doing?" Right? But when the naysayers felt that first drop of rain, and they're like,
their spine straightened right up, didn't it?
Exactly. But at that point, it was too late.
Yep.
I keep saying this all the time. What is your line in the sand? Where is that thing that you will not flex, you will not bend? And it's important that we have these conversations now and put this stuff out there because these are happening. These are all things that are going on. And as you're listening to this, there's less than 90 days days until the election that will decide, at least for the handful of years, literally the fate of the country. So this one creases me on a level that I can't. Yeah,
I remember when this first came out. A woman maces couple having a picnic for not wearing their face masks. The headline alone is enough to make me want to get my duct tape out, but I'm going to hold off for now because
you're going to need it.
I'm going to need it later, and I don't want to waste it all now because I know I've read through the rest of this, and I'm going to need it later. I will save enough for you, Jay. Bill, you're on your own. A woman maced a couple for not wearing face masks while enjoying a picnic at a dog park in San Diego. Ash O'Brien and her husband, Jarrett Kelly, were eating Thursday at the Dusty Roads dog park when a woman approached them angry because O'Brien and Kelly were not wearing their masks. According to an interview published Friday by ABC, the woman also claimed eating at the dog park was against the rules. Apparently you can't eat at a dog park. I didn't know that, but now you know. No one's half the battle.
Is that the human or dog?
Well, there you go. It doesn't really specify. The devil's in the details. If we knew there was a no food policy, we wouldn't have brought it into the park, O'Brien told the outlet. The woman allegedly came up to the couple and automatically, this is in quotes, started saying stuff about us not wearing masks when we were social distancing. There was nobody near us, said O'Brien. So to get the picture straight, they're outside. They're in a dog park. There's nobody around them, so they were practicing.
They're having a picnic.
Proper social distancing.
And they're eating.
They were eating, which apparently it's against the rules.
But you can't wear a mask when you're eating either, is all I'm trying to say.
Well, there is video of this, too. And the lady Ash, you hear her in the back screaming in pain. Because, listen, that it hurts when you get maced.
So anyway, she just came up to us. This is what, again, this is their quote. She came up to us without saying anything and just stuck the mace can right in front of my face, O'Brien said. My husband, being a good guy, walked in front of her and was like, hey, calm down. Please don't do this. And then she grabbed him, which I don't know that would have been my response. I probably would have had a reaction. And
I'd probably have a Samuel L. Jackson moment.
Yeah. I will smite you. She then started macing him, and she used the entire can on him. The couple drove to the hospital where Kelly was treated. What are you doing? A person can be heard saying while the videoing part of the was going on of the interaction. You cannot be serious. You just maced them. The unidentified woman has, of course, not been charged with any crimes at this point.
In all fairness, she's wearing a mask. I mean, and the funny thing is, like, you go to places now, and people are like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I don't know who you are. You're wearing a mask.
I'm going to go out on a limb. Like, if this is me as I'm getting maced, this is probably the sound that you're...
I'm thinking that other...
Oh.
Well, nonetheless, let's not go there. I'm going to hit this one real quick because they kind of tie in. It says, there's a crazy Nazi screaming in a little girl's face, I hope you die. The basically long and short of this is that a mother and infant child were shopping and the child was wrestling with the mask because, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I just can't even imagine trying to keep a mask on a kid. The woman was just yelling at this lady, I hope the mother with the baby with this mask, she wasn't having a good time with it and, just got accosted by this woman. She threatens her life, I hope you die. We got to do better, folks. There's things that are coming to our doorstep. So we're going to crank things up a bit because I want the severity of the situation. We already talked about one assault. Actually, we talked about two assaults technically, and we talked about a shooting. This one actually breaks my heart. Jason, can you go ahead and read over this real quick for us?
Murder of Black Trump supporter Bernell Trammell spurs call for federal investigation. The shooting death of a Black Trump supporter in Milwaukee has state Republicans calling for federal investigation. Bernell Trammell, 60, a dreadlocked activist known for carrying handmade signs through the streets reading Vote Donald Trump 2020 and posting them on his storefront, was gunned down by an unknown assailant on his sidewalk Thursday afternoon, police said. Because of Trammell's well-known political activism and the possibility that his murder could be politically motivated, I respectfully request that United States Attorney Matthew Kruger open an investigation, said Andrew Hitt, chairman of the Republican Party of Wisconsin. No American should fear for their personal safety because of where they live or their political affiliation, Hitt added. Kruger's spokesman, Kenneth Gales, said he could not comment on Hitt's request. Trammell was a familiar figure in Milwaukee's River West neighborhood, frequently pedaling a bicycle or walking the streets with signs proclaiming his eclectic religious or political thoughts. He had a lot of different views, local writer Adibisi Agoro told the Post, but it was his last view that made people outrageous with him.
The headline to me is actually quite horrifying, where it says, murder of Black Trump supporter Bernell Trammell spurs call for federal investigation. And it just comes back to, but my point being is like, I don't want to be this guy, but let's just be honest, everyone wants fair, everyone wants balance. At least that's what they proclaim. But here's a gentleman who was legally within his rights, gunned down for what we can only assume the reason being is because there was a dissenting opinion. That's all we know at this
contrary.
point. Right. The article said he had eclectic views, but that doesn't warrant him being murdered. I've been following this one for a while, and my hat's off to both of these gentlemen. I know Jason and I have talked about this a number of times. The New Jersey gym owners who defied Governor Murphy's coronavirus shutdown orders arrested for contempt. Atlas gym owners Ian Smith and Frank Trumbetti had opened despite lockdown orders. It said a South New Jersey gym was shuttered down Monday and its two owners arrested, escalating a battle over the two men's refusal to comply with Governor Phil Murphy's coronavirus restrictions. A judge on Friday ordered Atlas gym owners Ian Smith and Frank Trumbetti to vacate and cease operations in Belmar, New Jersey. They were charged Monday with disobeying the order. Acting Cadman County prosecutor Jill Meyer said. She said Smith, 33 of the Luca Township, and Trumbull, 51 of Williamstown, were charged with one count of fourth-degree contempt, one count of obstruction, and one count of violation of a disaster control act. The contempt charge is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 18 months in jail. The other two charges were disorderly persons summonses. From July 24th through July 27th, a number of individuals were observed, entered, and using the gym, the direct violation of the court order, Mayor said. Police said both owners refused to leave the gym when asked, leading in the charges. Smith and Trumbetti were brought into Belmar Police Department, charged and released. Now, these are the guys who, they literally took the doors off of their gym because they were threatened to have them locked down. They're like, you're not going to lock our doors. We're going to remove them. So what I'm saying is, back to the whole, remember the Alamo, the whole come and take it idea, is that principle. Like, I'm seeing these gentlemen stand up, and these guys were doing what they knew to do, but they basically just like, enough. This is how we make our living. How are we to make a living? How is it that you are doing this? You're stopping us. And once again, these are questions. These are things to think about. This one scares me. I rarely tell people to, when it comes to weapons, to get outside of their comfort zone. You need to be comfortable, but if your weapon isn't loaded and within a comfortable distance for you, I would advise you to do that. And this is why this article should scare every single person listening. So
Minneapolis police tell residents to, quote, be prepared to give up personal belongings to robbers. You know, just to even say that out loud sounds so ridiculous, but we know in the situation with the St. Louis couple, it was the same thing, where they tried to call for security, they tried to call for police, and what were they ultimately told? Let them burn your house down, claim an insurance money, and rebuild. Yeah. That's the response we want to tell people? Don't protect your homes. We started off with the Alamo, the 200 Texans who had the resolve to protect what they believed in. And now our leaders, our authority, are saying, give it up to the robbers. Just give it away. The larger thing, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound chauvinistic, I don't want to sound sexist, but if you're a woman, does that mean that you are able to be violated at will with no recompense for any perpetrator? But I mean, these are questions that, folks, we need to ask ourselves. It's stated, their opening statement is we want those who live and work here to be safe, which, granted, one of my first jobs was working at a bank. And they do teach you in banking, if someone comes in to rob the store, do whatever you can do to get them out of there. Right. So I get that. From that perspective, that's a little different from your house and your personal property where your wife or husband and children are there who could be raped, murdered, killed, whatever. They're different things. Now, they're using the same phrase that they would teach us in banking. Mm-hmm. You know, it's all about safety. Well, when someone's intent is to break down your door, your house, your domain where you live, that has been thrown out the window. It's no longer about safety. Right. Their intent is clear that they don't give a rat's whatever about your safety. You can toss that opening statement right out. Minneapolis police informed residents of the city's embattled 3rd precinct to prepare for the giving up of their personal belongings to potential robbers and advised them to do as the criminals say for their own safety. According to a July 28th email provided to Alpha News, Minnesota, that was also forwarded to the Daily Wire, the Minneapolis Police Department offered prevention tips to residents hoping to avoid being a victim of the skyrocketing cases of robbery and carjackings that have plagued the city since George Floyd's death in May. Robberies and carjackings have increased in our precinct, the email begins. Cell phones, purses, and vehicles are being targeted. Some victims have been maced, dragged, assaulted, and some threatened with a gun. Most of these crimes have occurred north of 42nd Street East. 100 robberies and 20 carjackings have been reported to 3rd Precinct police in July alone. Downtown and southwest Minneapolis have seen an increase as well. We want those who live and work here to be safe. The email goes on to list several tips that citizens can supposedly use to protect themselves, which includes letting criminals have what they want. It states, do not walk alone. Be hyper aware of your surroundings at all times. Pay attention. So far, I'm good with those. Carry only items you need and carry less cash. That's sensible. Be prepared to give up your cell phone, your purse, and your wallet. Have keys already in your hand as you approach your car, and despite all our efforts, robberies may still occur. Do not argue or fight with a criminal. Do as they say. Your safety is most important. Be a good witness when you call 911. Be prepared to answer many questions. How many suspects, age, height, complexion, hair and eye color, scars, tattoos, weapons, what did it look like? What direction did they leave in? And a vehicle description.
Okay, so
We're going to pause there for a second.
Yeah,
Willie Will's got some thoughts.
we don't need to read anymore. To quote Jason, our last episode, they're talking on both sides of their ass. Yeah. We want you to be safe, but we're not going to do anything. We're not going to live up to our end of the social contract, which these people's tax-paying dollars help fund. Now, I know that they've acquiesced and allowed the rioters to burn down the lion's share of Minneapolis, but nonetheless, the social contract that we have with one another needs to be upheld by everyone. And when the guardians, if you will, of society are pretty much, they're saying a couple different things. One, we aren't doing our job. Yeah. Two, hey, people who are potentially going to do this or who are thinking about doing these kind of things, we are permitting you, we are writing you a blank check. Rape, murder, pillage, and steal, whatever you like, it's on us.
It's gone straight Silverado at this point in time.
What they're saying to the people of this community, and which is, I hope they're paying attention, is we do not care about you, our safety, and our community. So, and my response would be, if I'm a citizen in that community, I'm doing a couple things. First and foremost, I am carrying. Secondly, I am doing everything I can to find out who are the sheriff, the councilman, the mayor, whomever, and vote them out of office. Either vote them or if you can impeach them or whatever, because this is obviously a derelict of duty.
They work for you.
Exactly.
They work for you. They work for us.
I got nothing.
All right, well, can you read the next one then?
This is all just...
Okay, I do need before. Yeah. They're going straight Nazi burning Bibles. Oh, I think I'm good now.
Okay.
Protesters burn Bible. American flag as tensions rise in Portland. Protesters burned an American flag and a Bible in Portland, Oregon, sparking outrage just as weeks of violent demonstrations seem to be coming to a close. For more than 60 days, Black Lives Matter demonstrators, including a wall of moms and a wall of vets, have clashed with federal agents in the city, drawing national attention as authorities blasted marchers with tear gas and the civilians at times responded with weapons of their own, such as feces, bleach, bricks, batteries. Friday night, demonstrations were largely peaceful, appearing to mark a break from the chaos as federal agents made a recent deal to allow local authorities to handle the protests. But just after midnight, because... why would we still be protesting at fucking midnight? Yeah. Marchers were caught on video using the flag and holy book as kindling for bonfires lit outside the federal courthouse, which has been a focal point of rioting after the death of George Floyd in police custody in May. Left-wing activists bring a stack of Bibles to burn in front of the federal courthouse in Portland, claimed Ian Miles Chong.
So there's a couple things. Once again, this is double talk. For a couple weeks since May, this says here over 60 days, that's a couple months, right? Like with Minnesota, they're allowing these things to happen. And listen, I'm going to ask you guys a question. What other famous group, famous leader in history was noted for burning books, specifically Bibles?
Adolf Hitler.
Yes.
I'm so sad for this country and these spoiled fucking brats.
And I guarantee the ones who are burning it weren't the ones, it wasn't their idea. They're pawns. We talk about pawns in the game. There's a lot of pawns that are being used by the others. Someone says, hey, here's a stack of Bibles.
Hey,
go burn
take accountability for yourself.
Well, it was interesting because Johnny and I, we went to dinner Saturday night, and in our town there was a BLM protest.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we forgot and we drove by it. I didn't see one black person there.
No.
I mean, there was easily 40 to 60 people that was there.
I'd say about half of them went through puberty already. I mean,
but I didn't see any person who was black at all.
No, because we were hanging out with all our good black brethren, if you will.
Yes.
We all get along. Newsflash, us white people and black people in the local town that we live in get along very well.
And we have a huge Latino population as well, and there's normally not a lot of...
No, there's not a lot of friction.
No kerfuffles.
We all love
like
each
that.
other.
More or less.
My black friends and my Latino friends, it's really easy for me me to practice the whole love my neighbor policy with them.
When I was first married, I lived in an apartment like a block over, and all of our neighbors were either Latino or black. And it was nothing. Like, the biggest problem we had is, hey, we need to get out of the parking lot. Can you move your car? If you're listening to these articles, there's a lot of double speak in the quote. Like Johnny said, the devil's in the detail. You got to read the fine print.
Understand who the real mastermind is.
Jay, you're up.
I'm up.
You're up.
Before I get going on an article,
Warning!
there's been several articles here. I mean, I still don't like the fact that the media has to use the terminology that they use. For instance, the first sentence here: on Sunday, Chicago's first openly gay mayor. All right, we can leave that out.
Not really important.
Mounted a raid on a black Southside church. Why do we keep dividing? I'm sick of it. It doesn't matter if someone's gay. It doesn't matter if someone's black or white or orange or green. Anyway.
Point that we're pointing out, that read the fine print. Why are they pointing these things? Like, in this article, what does it matter if someone's homosexual or not? It doesn't. They're infringing a constitutional right. That's the point.
Right, and I wish we could just focus on the point.
Like, when I go to my favorite restaurant and they bring me my meal, I don't say, well, I mean, was it the white who made my burrito?
Well,
or,
which, by the way, our
I
favorite...
just want it to taste good.
Our favorite restaurant's a Mexican restaurant.
Yes, I don't know if we're allowed to use the name, but...
well, we better not.
We better not.
We don't want to get firebombed.
And we're family. They love us.
Yeah.
And the very last... what's the last thing they say when we're leaving? See you tomorrow.
But it even goes back to the article I read earlier about Bernell Trammell, who was murdered. Murder of black Trump supporter. I mean, let's just stop with the division already. Let's just stop. People, when you write these articles, would you just stop? No one cares,
newspaper.
Man.
I know, but
I know it's all about selling. Let's don't worry about fact stuff. Let's just divide.
Right, but it has a dual purpose. So not only is it clickbait, but it is perpetuating this division. Which,
yes, it is.
Which
big time.
Exactly.
No, I know you are saying that.
No, but this is why we have to point this out. This is why I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about something else. But
no, I know. I just wanted to make. It abundantly clear, folks, that because I've talked about this in episodes before, about this racism and division, and the way that the media keeps it going in full-fledged is... But anyway, I digress. I'll read the article. Chicago mayor launches police raid to shut down black churches' Sunday services. On Sunday, Chicago's first openly gay mayor, Lori Lightfoot, mounted a raid on a black Southside church for holding services in defiance of her coronavirus lockdown orders. For her orders. You will listen to me. Lightfoot reportedly sent 3 marked squad cars and 2 unmarked cars full of officers to the Chicago Cornerstone Baptist Church in the South Side's Woodlawn neighborhood. Woodlawn is just south of Hyde Park, the area in which the Obamas lived for a short time before Barack became president. The pastor of the mostly black congregation, Courtney Lewis, reportedly shut and locked the doors and refused to allow the officers to gain entry to the building, Todd Starnes reported. That's what we're talking about. Stand up for your freaking rights. Pastor Lewis told Starnes that he felt like he was confronting the Soviet-style KGB as the officers pounded on the doors and demanded entry to shut the church down. Thankfully, our doors were locked as a normal safety precaution we take each service to protect our members from the escalating gun violence in Chicago, Lewis said. A sentry that is usually posted outside the sanctuary to monitor the street during service also reported seeing occupants of a dark car with tinted windows filming the incident through one opened window. All we are seeking is the same consideration and trust that is being tendered toward the liquor stores, abortion clinics, Walmart, etc., Lewis told Starnes.
Once again, there's so much in that article that first, the order, right? So apparently this mayor, her order, her edict, her decree supersedes that of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Of course it does. What's the U.S. Constitution? Let's throw that shit out the window. Right along with the Alamo and all the other shit. Like, let's just throw it all away. We've only become the greatest country in the world by accident. Oops. Sorry about that. Oh, what's great about our country? Compared to what? Perfection? We're not perfect, okay? We're humans. We're humans. We are flawed. We're all flawed. We're always going to be flawed. Every one of us, even you people out there who don't believe it, you make mistakes. You're imperfect, okay? You're immoral. Believe it or not, you are. I swear on everything that's holy, you are not perfect, okay? So, let's get over the whole great doesn't equal perfect, all right? Poor in this country, a poor person in this country has cable television. You know there's over 1 billion people in this world who don't have electricity? There's over 1 billion people in this world who don't have access to running water, fresh water? I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Ultimately, if you want something in this country, you have the opportunity to go get it.
The only thing stopping you is you.
100%. There are so many things to help you and support you that we offer in this country. It's unbelievable what these people think and what they're trying to do, taking away our Constitution and our rights. I mean, how are you not just... How do they have you so brainwashed that you think it's okay to just continue taking away people's rights?
Well, because we're complying.
They do realize what we are, right? People realize we're not a democracy, Bill. What are we?
We're a citizen republic.
Okay. And who runs this country?
We the people.
The people. This is our country. This isn't our government's country, and we listen and bow to those fuckers. That's not how it works.
Right. Well, like what's her nuts here in Chicago we're talking about. She is an employee of us, we the people.
Sister Lightfoot.
That's exactly right. She's an elected official paid by us. When I say us, I mean obviously it's the people of Chicago for her particularly. But I say us, I mean Americans.
Our taxes go to pay Supreme Chancellor DeWine. And
That's right.
And I think the guy, I've never said this before, I think you should, I think the guy needs to be impeached.
Well, the problem is there's a lot of people need to be impeached. I wish we had one single
But
problem.
the one person who really has no legal standing to be impeached, they've been trying to impeach his ass for the last 3.5 years, almost 4 years. All right, so listen, the two things I want to bring out is, first off, this is an assault on religious freedom.
Yes, and in broader terms, our Constitution.
So this is another episodes, but the first thing that tyrants do, they silence those who are God's representatives, and they also silence the artists, because the artists
So how many articles have we talked about destroying God now? We've burnt Bibles, and now we're closing churches.
Well, that's just this episode.
Let's just remove God and see how that goes, you morons.
Johnson, let's go to the next one.
Federal government and Yale are holding clinical trials on how best to persuade Americans to take COVID-19 vaccines.
Persuade in quotes.
Persuade in quotes. Gently urged with a blunt force trauma if you try and resist. The federal government and Yale are currently holding clinical trials on how best to persuade Americans into taking the Fauci-Gates COVID-19 vaccines. The study is published at the government website on clinical trials. The options they are studying include shame and anger techniques, other control message, another one, baseline message, personal freedom message, how about economic freedom message, or try self-interest message, community interest message, economic benefit message, guilt message, embarrassment message, anger message, trust in science message, not bravery message.
Think about this. There's collaboration, and a lot of people lately, I don't have a life, so I read about this stuff. You know, Fauci and Gates go long way back. And the fact that, they're both mentioned in this article, but the thing that really scares me is Yale, an Ivy League school, a very alleged well-respected institution of higher education, is holding clinical trials to see how they can pull the wool, continue
Methods,
to deepen,
methodologies.
to trick us for the COVID with the vaccine, which that Bill Gates, mark of the beast, read into this, because you take this, it literally reconfigures your genomes. Not making it up. Trust me. And you look at what they're trying to do here. Control message. Well, okay, we got that. We got that right here in Ohio. Wear your mask. Wear your Pavlov mask. Wear your obedience mask. Baseline message. Well, okay, I would say a baseline message is we're going to shut things down for 2 weeks because we got to flatten the curve. Well, here we are, damn near almost 6 months later, right?
Well, before we even go through any more of those, because I don't think we need to, I think everyone gets the point, but I want to say this. I said earlier in this podcast, how is it that we continue to let all these quote-unquote leaders continue to pull the wool over our eyes and bullshit us? We have it very clearly stated by Dr. Fauci himself years ago that you can't just roll out a vaccine. Now he's double talking, without clinical trials. He said it about hydroxychloroquine just now. Yeah. And he also said years ago that hydroxychloroquine is not only a treatment, but a vaccine, is what he says.
65 years, it's been approved.
Yeah, right. Then he says it's not, and you can't test trial it. You can't just roll it out. You'd have to test trial it, Now he says, but we have something else. My buddy Bill Gates owns most of, and we're just going to want to give it to people right away because we got to stop this spread. Yeah. I mean, folks, how stupid do you have to be? I'm serious right now. How stupid do you have to be? Can you not? I'm telling you facts. Look it up. This is what Fauci said. Talk out of this side of my ass. Talk out of that side of my ass. Talk out of this side of my ass. Talk out of that side of my ass. It's unbelievable. And people just continue to fall. Oh, he's the Dr. Fauci. He's on TV. I better kiss his ass and believe everything he says. What the hell, people? Have a brain. Think for yourself.
I would say have a spine, have some balls. Like, I'm going to read this next quote. This is from one of my heroes, Winston Churchill. It says, "Still, if you will not fight for the right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not so costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance for survival. There may be a worst case. You may have to fight when there is no chance of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves." So we're tying this all back around to the idea of the Alamo.
Do you know what I think of? We talked about this briefly. It's the 300 theory. There was 300 men who were going against all the Persian army, and they knew it was certain doom. The Spartans sent out, I know that they say 300, and the actual number wasn't exactly 300, remember, but that's the point. It was that it was a bunch of men who knew that there was zero chance of surviving this, but they knew to accomplish the major objective, they needed to provide proof that their resolve was strong enough on a whole to persuade the rest of their countrymen to join in the fight. So they went, met with certain peril. They knew they were doing it, but it wasn't about that moment. It was about the moments that were to follow. So if we don't take our stand now, we're going to be repeating the same thing.
It's coming to the point now where I feel like I can say this. Like, moving forward, I don't know that we can say much else. Listen, I'm sorry, I don't want to be this way. It's going to continue to get worse. What we're seeing now, we're talking about people having a picnic with their dog being maced, minding their own business being maced by old lady. And we're talking about a gentleman who happens to be black but supports Donald Trump being murdered for that. The things that we're talking about, they're real, and they're knocking on our doorstep right now, folks, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So the whole idea of this is to help stiffen your back, grow a pair, get some resolve, get some grit, and to say no, because like Sir Winston Churchill said, there may come a time you can certainly win. And as we're understanding, all it takes is to say no. We are not descendant from fearful men. As you look at our founding fathers, as you look at Colonel Bowie, Colonel Travis, Colonel Crockett, Sam Houston, you look at these gentlemen who were fighting against these insurmountable odds. What we realize is that, and Winston Churchill said it perfectly, you may have to fight when there is no chance of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves. Whenever I've been to Texas, you can't escape it. The whole idea of come take it. I don't read that as a cocky thing. I read that as being assured and say, if you want my freedom, come and take it. And I believe that it isn't so much the gauntlet that we are choosing, but it's the gauntlet that's being thrown down. I'm going to just say this in closing. What I want to tell you guys is get in the arena. Do not acquiesce. We are fighting a foe that is evil, that is causing division, that is weakening us. And if we can just be unified and say, no, we will win. We will overcome this. And that's all I got, Joyce.
Good, man.
Johnson?
We say it all the time to the point of nauseam, but get educated, get in the arena, be aware of the facts, understand that the hour is dark, but we understand how this plays out in the end. We understand that you're on the right side. If you're on God's side, you're on the right side. So ultimately, the only thing that you have to fear is fear itself.
Thanks for the support. Listen, we're asking you, please share, please subscribe. We really desperately need your help. If you like the content, if you support what you're doing, about the comments, we know you do, please subscribe, please share. We're on YouTube, on Spotify. Right now, we're back up on Apple. Flawed Inc., Flawedcast, Flawedcast CLE. Our website's flawedinc.com. Email info@flawedinc.com. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are on Parler and Gab. We're strong on Parler and Gab. Try to find us there. Follow us, for content and stuff. Listen, guys, get in the arena, read the Constitution, get close to God, do what you need to do to protect yourself and make you and your family in the most safe, secure situation. And I'm not necessarily referring to a mask.
Out. Jay's good. Jay's out. John's out.
You are one pathetic loser.